Hello everyone, this is Samuel from the Pioneer Library System, back with the next video in our series on how to play chess. Today we're going to talk about castling. So last time we talked about how to deliver check and deliver checkmate. So keeping your king safe is super important to playing good chess. And so one of the moves, the rules that allows you to do that is castling. So let's sort of get into this. So this is actually from a game played by Mikhail Tal and Lizitsyn in 1956. So Mikhail Tal is playing with white and Lizitsyn's playing with black. And so they open up and they have this position, and so the king being in the center oftentimes can be attacked by a lot of the pieces. As you can see, the pieces sort of congregate here in the center, and it can be kind of a dangerous spot to have your king. So what you can do is you can castle two different ways. And so we see both kinds of castling in this game. So there's castling kingside or castling short, or castling queenside or considered castling long. So castling kingside or castling short, those are synonyms, and castling queenside or castling long, those are synonyms. If you hear someone say castling long or castling short, I think people generally say kingside or queenside, but some people say long and short. So here, white decides to castle its king, and so how you castle is you take your king and you move it 2 squares. This is the only time that a king can move 2 squares. You move it 2 squares, and then the rook jumps over the king to the other side. And this is the only time that a rook can jump a piece, and it's also the only time that you can move 2 pieces in the same move. And so this is castling queenside, right? So because the king starts on e1 and the queen starts on d1, the king is moving over towards the queen side of the board. And so the king is castling queenside, or castling long. And we'll see why they call it long here in a second when we get to castling kingside, right? So a couple moves were made in between. And then here, let me go ahead and flip the board around so you can kind of see it from black's perspective. Here, black decides to castle kingside, which is actually pretty smart because you see this open file right here, and so white could easily deliver check on the king with the rook or the queen, and so black decides to get their king to safety, and so he has to castle kingside, right? And so he does this. Again, the king moves 2 squares, and then the rook just hops on to the other side. It's considered short because, again, the rook isn't moving as much. And you can also see the castling kingside puts you closer to the edge of the board, whereas castling queenside still leaves you kind of in the center, but your rook is also a little further away from the edge, and castling queenside puts your rook right into the thick of the action. So that is castling. Important things to note, though, is you cannot castle when your king is in check, right? So if a piece is attacking your king, you can't castle. You cannot castle through a check, right? So let's just back up here for a second. Let's say white's bishop, let's say white had moved their bishop here. Obviously, black could just take the bishop with the knight here, but let's say black decided they wanted to castle. They could not, because it would be going through the check, right? They would be walking into attack, and through an attack from the bishop. And then the other thing is you cannot castle into check. That's a little more obvious. As you know, you can't move into check. You have to move out of check, so you can't castle into check. So you can't castle in, through, or into check. So those are the important rules to know for castling. But that's how you castle. And it's a good move to get your king to safety. Thank you for joining me in PLS and exploring how to play chess. And next time we will talk a little bit more about stalemates and draws. I'll see you then.